Hi, salam alaikum. Hi, Oracle Reiki spiritual healer. And as you know, I'm a big believer in whatever God has put the herbs and made us inheritors of in his garden on the earth. Then I'm a big believer in using what God has given you. So one of the trees that I love to highlight, and I've talked about quite a bit of trees that I like to use and that I like to be around. I've talked about the cedar trees. I've talked about the fig trees. I've talked about the peach bark that comes from those trees. And all of these, they're a healing and a mercy to you. I recently talked about the turpentine that comes from pine trees. So right now I am in Germantown, Tennessee. I'm at my next client's house, and she and her husband have been struggling to have a child. You know, they've been in a relationship for 2.5 years, and a lot of times people don't realize that the negative that is associated with not being married, it can cause a strain. The spirit it won't let you go. It won't let certain things go through because God has said no, because you haven't submitted to what he wanted. You haven't submitted to God. So the client, she is telling me that her boyfriend, her lover, her boyfriend is, picking on her, or he's saying mean things that shouldn't be said. That shouldn't be said. And this is what I've been counseling and life coaching this client, that both of them should go to the doctor and get checked out, and to understand when she is ovulating, to understand his sperm count. He did not want to go to the doctor, and that is typical of a lot of males. But you can't sit up and say that is all the female. It's all the female that is the reason that you guys can't get pregnant. But what I'm going to tell you is that it is the lack in belief. It is the lack of not being married in your relationship, and I think that is the major contributing factor. But I still have to counsel these people, and I have to counsel my client on getting married or letting this relationship go, and stepping off of this relationship. Because one of the main things that this client, confided in me, and she said that, I could use her story. And she said that her male partner, has said to her that in, I think it's Mathew in 7 something, I can't really remember what it was, but I know exactly the phrase that he has given her from the Bible, the verse, that a tree that doesn't bear fruit needs to be cut down. And that's a real horrible thing to say to a person, when you're not trying to get married, or you're not walking in what God has said that you're supposed to be walking in, and not take a girlfriend, but be in marriage, be in a union, not only with the woman, but with God first, and putting God first. So, I thought that was a real despicable thing for someone to say, to their partner, their girlfriend. And we are going to, alleviate this by saying that a lot of the trees that God has put here, they bear fruit, and they bear fruit for different things and different reasons. Some of them bear fruit for medicinal purposes only. Some of them bear fruit for the ants and the birds to feed off of. Humans can't eat. And of course, some of them bear fruit for our, benefit, to eat, our healing purposes, and to make sure that God has sent them down for us in the garden so that we can have and use. So, these are some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. How to heal yourself from negative energy, how to heal your womb. But I'm absolutely letting this person know, because that's a very despicable thing to say. And let me make sure that I put this up here, and I'm using my other tablet right now to pull that up. And I'm sorry, because I really want to know and give it to you guys, the quote, the verse that he quoted to his girlfriend. And this is why you don't have girlfriends and boyfriends, because you don't know the amount of toxic or the negative, when they're trying to lock you down or they can't have their way. You don't know what they will stoop to. And that's ridiculous. And I'm just going to make sure that we have this verse that he is quoting to her. It's Mathew 7:19. And I didn't want to get that wrong for you guys. So I just wanted to look it up. And certain things that you don't say in a relationship. Because, if you're refusing to go to the doctor, then, the ultimate problem could be you. Could be you that that can't bear fruit. But they always want to attribute those kind of things to women. But, as we know, men do not like to go to the doctor. And that's why a lot of us have stepped off of being in relationships, because you might be a passport bro. And, I was asking her, did, he spend a lot of time with the friends or, away from home? And she was saying no, that, he comes home, but the relationship isn't the same, because he thinks that after, 2 years or whatnot, that they should have a baby. And, I'm letting her know that maybe God is saying no. And this is what I'm talking about. When God says no to something, when God is averse to you moving forward, then there's nothing that you can do or anybody else can do to change that. And maybe God is showing you something in a person's behavior and character that is absolutely in need of identifying and reckoning with. So, like I say, either she is going to have to leave this relationship, because I can't move forward, in giving you a remedy for something. I first have to deal with the personal affliction that you're dealing with. And that is the sin, that you guys are not married. And God has not let you get pregnant because there's something you needed to see in this person. So ultimately, you need to heal yourself. And if you've gone to the doctor and he hasn't gone to the doctor to check on himself to see what's going on with his body, his sperm count or whatnot, if you guys could get pregnant together, then ultimately we're going to look at the male as being, the negative here, the problem here. You can't say that you want something and not follow through with it. You can't say that you want a wife and a house with children, and you don't want to get married. So this is absolutely the hand of God. This is what I was telling you about in my previous video, that when God says no, who's going to undo what God has done? So when God has put a brow on your womb, has put a stop on your womb, this may not be the right person, because this person doesn't want to walk as the head, as Godhead, as having God as the head of your life, and do what's right and submit to what's right. But yet and still, he wants you to submit to him. And that's how I ultimately have to look at that. So I hope that this has helped you. And this is what we're getting in today. We're getting into, letting you know that certain things you shouldn't say, because when you say that and it hurts a person, when you say that, and take God's words in his book out of context, you become the wolf in sheep clothing. You become the false prophet, and quoting things just to take a cheap shot at somebody. But when somebody takes a cheap shot, at your male parts, when a woman says something about your male parts, and wants to, let you know that it could ultimately be you. That is the fruit that doesn't have the right kind of seed, that doesn't have a strong enough seed. So, we are not going to, go throw rail for rail. We're not going to go blow for blow. We are going to address the problem. We are going to, even if you don't want to address it, we are having to address the problem on our end and heal on our end, so that, you can see that we are progressing and moving forward in life. We are using, God's word as a shield from your negative attacks, and ultimately putting the ball in your court. That either you're going to the doctor, either you're serious about this, or, our relationship of 2 years is over, because I have to follow God, and I'm instructing her to follow God's word. You shouldn't be in a relationship with him. You shouldn't be in a relationship with a person that wants to lock you in, that's in your house, and you have ultimately the most to lose. What would happen if you had a baby with this person, and I have to give it to him blood raw? What would happen to you if you had a baby with this person that is trying, obviously, to lock you in, and he's in your house? He's not the head of his own house. He's not the provider. He's not trying to protect and provide. He's not protecting you from his mother, his friends. Ultimately, he's scandalizing you to them. So what would that look like if you marry this person, and this person is able to run around and do the things that he's always done? That it is being upheld, that he can run and talk about you, and he's doing that because you're not his wife. You're expendable. And so therefore you have to go with the God option and get away from this individual as fast as you can, because this is not a godly union. This is not a godly relationship. This is dating and shacking up together is not something cohesive or godly. So this is what I'm giving you today. This is what I'm letting you know, that when God says no, ultimately the answer is no. Nobody can remove that. So I'm going to keep life coaching this person. I'm going to do a rub for her. I'm going to do, a bath for her to remove the negative energy. But we cannot address the problem with the womb. We cannot address the problem, with the marriage, because ultimately the male doesn't want to get married. Ultimately, the male wants children outside of, the wedlock. So we're going to move forward with removing the negative energy. So maybe this demonic, soul tie that she has to this person is broken, and she is able to move forward and possibly get married and get pregnant with someone else. So I am High Oracle, Reiki Spiritual Healer. You can reach out to me in the description below. You can leave a comment, donate to my channel. You can also make sure that you leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, and follow me. I'm High Oracle Reiki Spiritual Healer. Assalamu alaikum.